Good afternoon and welcome live from Studio C. It's Inside Apple Mail on Go for Lunch. Let's get this going here. There we go. For May 26, 2026. Brought to you by GoFor Technology. I'm Roger Harmon, your host, and we're here to make your technology work for you. Well, it is National Happy World Lindy Hop Day. So the story goes that when Charles Lindbergh flew solo across the Atlantic Ocean from New York to Paris, the newspaper headline was "Lindy Hops the Atlantic," and that may be where the name for the dance, the Lindy Hop, originated, but who knows for sure. So let's talk about Apple Mail. We all have it on our Macs, on our iPhones, on our iPads, and it is built into all your operating systems. It's a simple interface on the surface. However, it has more powerful hidden features that are below the surface. So we're going to look at some of those features that can help you organize your email. So in iOS 18 and Mac OS Sequoia 15, categories were introduced, and they were actually by default turned on when you upgraded to those operating systems. They had the primary, the transactions, the updates, and the promotions. But some people didn't care for that little thing that Apple added for them. So we're going to show you how to turn off the categories on your iPhone. So on your iPhone, if you look up here to the upper right hand corner, you have the three little dots. So you click on those right there. And then this little drop down menu appears. So you would click on List View. It would be defaulting to categories, so you click on List View. Also, you might want to turn on the priority, show priority emails. That's Apple's machine learning figuring out what it thinks are important emails. So that sometimes help you see the important emails at the top of the list. So you can turn off categories on Mac OS Sequoia and later. Again, you look for the three little dots. They're more in the center here. And then this drop-down menu appears, and you would uncheck Show Mail Categories. Again, you can show your priority messages if you check this next selection right here. So there is another feature working on iPhones, which is swipe options. So they give you 4 choices. You can have a flag, you can mark as read, you can move the message, or you can archive. So let's see how that works. We're going to turn on our iPhone here. And we're going to go to Settings. And we're going to, we already are, so we went to Mail App. Well, let me show you how we did that. So we went to Search Apps, Mail App, like that. Well, that's interesting. Let's see if we can just get mail, maybe. There we go. Okay, interesting little anomaly there. So we scroll down and we find your swipe options. You see right there in the middle. And then you have a swipe left, swipe right. If you click on the swipe left, which is now selected for a flag, you could also have that marked as read. And then on the swipe right, it's marked as move message currently. So you could have that be marked as read, or you could have that one be archived. So that's how you set up the swipe options. So okay, now we have the Remind Me feature, which lets you push off some emails into the future. So on iOS, you would tap the reply button and choose the Remind Me option. And you can choose the reminder time from the following: 1 hour, in the evening, the next day, or you can also do a custom time. So let's go back to our phone, and we're going to go into the Mail app. Okay. So we're going to take a mail here, a message, and we're going to hit the little left arrow at the bottom. And you can see here we have edit reminder. Now I already put a reminder on this mail. So here's the custom reminder. So you can set any date you want, any time you want. So let's find another email. So let's do this one. So we're going to reply, and now this one was not done before, so we click on Remind Me, and then there you see the choices. Remind me in an hour, tonight, tomorrow, or you can set the custom time. And then that will pop back up at the time that you set, so you are not going to miss out on something that you wanted to follow up on. So on Mac OS 26, it also has a Remind Me function, and there's 3 ways to trigger that. So you can right click on the email, you can go to the top menu up in the menu bar under Message, or you can swipe right across the email in your list. Now I'm on my MacBook Pro here, which is not on Mac OS 26, so you just have to give that a try yourself, following those instructions, and see how it works. I can't demonstrate that. Well, where did those reminders go? Where did they go? So when you set the reminder, all you have to do is look over to your left in the sidebar, and there will be a temporary mailbox folder called Remind Me. So if you don't see the sidebar, you can hit Control, Command, and S, and that will open up the sidebar for you. Another feature is protecting your email using Hide My Email. Now that feature is available if you have an iCloud Plus account, and if you're paying for any memory from Apple, you have an iCloud Plus account. So you can do that from in the composition window, or many times on a website when it's asking you for an email, you'll see the little Hide My Email prompt pop up where you can choose Hide My Email there, and it'll create a address for you that will not expose your normal address. This only works, however, on Apple mail addresses. So that would be a dot or at Mac, at iCloud, or at me.com. So that's a good way to not give up your email to a sketchy website. Also a good way to find out if a website is selling your email, because if you see that email show up on a different site, you know that they have done you in. Now, if you have Gmail, you can do something similar. You can customize your email address. You do that by adding a plus sign before the @ sign. So you put in a plus before the @ sign, and then after the plus sign, you type in something that lets you remember that site. So an example would be, and this goes to an email, because that was an actual email address, so we don't want that. Let's get out of here. Let's get back to here. There we go. So there we go. So in this case, my email is gofortech@gmail.com. I put in a plus sign, and then I put in a word that would remind me of what website this is. In this case, I put in sketchy. So when the email, if someone sends you an email from this address, it ignores this word after the plus sign and puts it in your regular inbox. But again, you'll know if someone is selling you, and then you can just stop using that email if you don't want to hear from that person anymore. And here we go again. Let's get out of there. There we go. Okay, undo send only gives you a few seconds to undo an email that you've sent unless you change it. So if you have something that has typos in it or something you shouldn't have said to someone, you can go to Settings, Apps, Mail, Undo Send, and you can change that undo send time to the maximum, which is 30 seconds. So it gives you 30 seconds to undo anything that you didn't want sent out. Maybe you forgot to add the attachment to that email. You can grab it back before the 30 seconds, and nobody is the wiser. So you can use keyboard shortcuts to process your mail. So if you'd like to do a screenshot of this, get ready to do a screenshot as I show you the keyboard shortcuts, which is Command N for a new message, Command R for reply, Shift Command F for forward, Shift Command U for marked unread or read, and Shift Command A for archive. So I'll leave that up to give you a chance to screenshot that so you can have that for your notes and put those keyboard shortcuts into action. And that works on the Mac and on an iPad if you have an external keyboard for your iPad with the Command key on it. So hopefully you got that. You can always go back on YouTube and recall this presentation and get that. So there's such a thing as smart mailboxes, and they kind of do sorting for you. It only works on the Mac, and instead of manually dragging emails into folders, you can create a smart email box and define the rules that would automatically put an email into that box. So for example, you could have a smart email box that says contains attachments and from whatever the person's name is. So then the mail will automatically pull those into a dynamic folder without removing them from your inbox. So let's see how that works. So we're going to go into our mail, and we're going to get rid of this guy again. Don't save. Okay, so over here we have, trying to get some other windows out of the way. Here we go. Smart email, smart mail boxes. So you see it, you don't see the plus unless you mouse over it. So then you would click on the plus, and then you would name the mailbox. So let's name this one Grandchildren. Okay. And then you would say from, and then here you would say contains. So let's say your daughter's name is Kathy. Jones. So that's part one of it. Then to add part two, you click on the little plus sign here on the right, and then you click on the double arrows. You go all the way to the bottom, and contains attachments right here. So now when Kathy Jones sends you pictures, which are of course attachments to an email, they would go into the smart email box named Grandchildren. So that's the way that works. So VIPs are a way to cut through the noise, get the important emails, and separate them from all the other ones that you get every day. So you would designate your most important people, like your family, your close friends, or your clients. In my case, all my clients are VIPs, so I don't miss any of their emails. And so they get their own dedicated mailbox, so you can check your VIP mailbox, and then you can also set up notifications so that they only work, you only get notified when you get a VIP mail and not another one. So that brings us to questions. If you haven't already, go ahead and put your questions in the comments box there on YouTube. And Zoom has been updated to 7.0.5. And you do me a favor, share the GoFor Gazette with anybody you know that uses Apple devices. And give us a thumbs up. Give us a like on YouTube, and that way the algorithm will show this to more people. So let's see. Gotta get my comments here. So let's see what you have to say. Welcome, Leslie. And Susan says that she has found that the there we go. Found that primary is quite accurate given the staggering number of send money emails that she gets. And she finds that they're very helpful to turn categories on and look at the primary. Hi, Alice. And Leslie says, very helpful, thank you. Well, I'm glad you joined something. And Alice says, thank you, very useful. Great. Well, I'm glad you got something out of this. Hopefully you learned something. Thanks for all the thumbs up. And if you think of anything that you want to learn more about, my contact information is coming up right now. So take care. Have a good day. We'll see you next week for another Go for Lunch.